So, hello everybody. A super easy, super productive fruit tree to grow, supposedly, is the Chinese date, the Jujube. And they taste pretty awesome. You can eat them fresh. They're kind of like crunchy, sweet apples. You can dry them, and they're kind of like dates, really good. And they have a huge growing zone, absolutely huge, from South Florida all the way up north. They're extremely cold tolerant, they're poor soil tolerant, they're everything. On the surface they should be an absolutely amazing crop, except they don't fruit in Florida for some reason. Now the Indian varieties and species do. There's Thai and Indian, I believe, something like that. And they will fruit in Florida, in my area especially. But they're not as cold tolerant as the Chinese Jujube. And that's a real shame, like I said, because they are super productive and very delicious. And apparently have some amazing health benefits. And as I'm talking about this, you're sitting here wondering, well, then why are you showing us a Jujube loaded with fruit? Well, that's because this is a seedling rootstock. And unfortunately, these fruits are literally only the size of peas, a little larger. And that's as big as they get. The hard seed kernel inside is pretty much the entire fruit, where selected cultivars have much larger fruit and actually have something to enjoy eating off of them. And this seedling here, which is just a seedling Jujube, which is what they graft the selected varieties onto, these fruit extremely well. The only problem is they're extremely thorny, and again, the seed is the whole fruit, so there's nothing to really eat. It is just paper thin, so you get nothing out of it. But they have no problem fruiting. And nobody seems to know why the selected cultivars of Jujube, or most Jujubes, will not fruit in Central Florida here, or really South Florida anywhere. I don't know why. I've hunted and searched forever, and nobody seems to be able to answer that. But yet, again, these seedlings, they're extremely productive, and they'll actually get weedy because they'll sucker everywhere, and each of these fruits, if it drops on the ground or a bird gets it, they sprout and they fruit. So I don't know what it is. And I've tried growing every variety of the improved Jujube out there, and none of them really fruit. And so ideally, the best thing to do would be to take this seedling here, which I've got them everywhere. The main plant, which is right there, died back, and the seedling came up and loaded with fruit this year. We're going in for the beginning of June here, and these are just now starting to fill out, and they'll be ripening up into little brownish red fruits within the next couple weeks. But they taste great. There's just nothing to eat on them, and you can pop the whole thing in your mouth and kind of lick the paper off of it, and it's super sweet with a nice fruity flavor. Just nothing there. There's not even paste underneath the paper shell skin. There's just the pit, which is a real shame because they taste really, really good and super productive. So, and they're still flowering. You can see the flowers still forming on here, and these will have fruit on them until a frost. These seedling ones fruit for months. Once they start ripening up, they'll have ripe fruit and flowers on them all the way into December. And if only you could get an improved cultivar to do that. But I have something to show you guys. You can see the flowers they're little minute, tiny, tiny flowers. They're wind pollinated, so you got to have a variety to pollinate them. And my seedling varieties here, this is a standalone tree, but there's several of them here. And honestly, I should probably just try growing these seedlings and selecting out a great variety. But I have something for the first time ever to show you guys over here. And yeah, as I'm focusing, here we are, guys. For the first time ever, I have gotten an improved Jujube variety to fruit here in Central Florida for me. And look at that. You can see the size difference. These are, 100 times, more than 100 times, 500-600 times larger than the seedling fruits I just showed you. And this tree actually has quite a few on her. And you can just see the difference. And there's actually loaded. This tree was loaded a few weeks ago, but we've had some really bad storms coming through, and it's knocked off, unfortunately, 90% of these fruits. And I'm up by the road on my property here. Sorry for all the cars. But I've never had one of the improved varieties fruit for me. And I'm not sure what changed this year. I really don't know. We're in Central Florida, so our springs are normally our dry season. It's our standard dry spring we've had this year. Nothing new. And we're going into the wet season now with good rain every afternoon. But these were pollinated way before our wet season started. This was flowering back in probably March, I think was when this flowered. And they put flowers on their little tiny new growth there. You can see those little tiny minute flowers appear on the new growth. And these aren't branches. These are terminal leaflet bud branches. I don't know what you call them, but they're not main branches, as you see. These will actually die off when the tree goes dormant during winter. But that's what they fruit on. They're branched leaflets that also fruit. I don't know what you call that. But the new wood actually sends up, if you've never grown a jujube, it'll actually send up a thick stem that is a permanent branch. You can see how that is a permanent branch. These aren't. These will die off the end of the year, and a new branch, which they grow later in the season, will come out, and it'll be thick and fleshy, and then grow into a permanent branch on there, if you understood any of that. But I don't know what changed this year, but we've got fruit. And yeah, the seedlings always fruit for me. These guys sucker, and the seedlings have always fruited, but never this. And this variety, I believe, is Lang. It's a Chinese selection, and it tastes really good. It's really good. I've actually eaten a couple of these green like this, and they're like a green Granny Smith apple at this stage, but they'll get even sweeter and softer and more luscious as they mature and ripen. So it's just crazy this year. It's very interesting. And I have no other jujubes flowering for me when these were, except the seedlings. So these are clearly crossed or were pollinated, because Lang needs to be pollinated. These were pollinated by the seedling jujube. So hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers, these will give me viable seeds, and I will grow them out and see where this gets us. This is very interesting. I've never even had a chance to get seed off of jujube to select a variety that would fruit here in Florida. So there you guys go. A long video, but absolutely fascinating. For whatever reason, jujube grow amazing here in Florida. They'll grow into beautiful trees, but they don't fruit. I've got 10, 15 varieties that I've had for years, and they just sit there. I cut the suckers off of them, or I just leave them alone, and the birds eat the seedling fruits. But this tree is, this tree is about 6 feet tall, and it's actually about 4 or 5 feet wide, even though it doesn't look like it's that large. It's a pretty good sized tree. Has never fruited for me before. Flowers every year. All of them do. They flower every year, but they never set fruit. So, very interesting, guys. I'm going to see how large these get, and I'll update you when they're ripe, and I'll give them a try and see if I can get the seeds for these to sprout, which would be really interesting if we could get a Chinese jujube that is adapted to actually set fruit in my climate, my area, because it's not chill hours. The trees fruit and grow just fine, but the fruit refuses to set. And I've grown these for years. This tree's been in the ground over 5 years, over 6 years. Gosh, my son is, yeah, I think I planted the year my son was born. So these things are pushing 8, 9, 10 years in the ground, and first time they have ever fruited. Really interesting.